At 5 a.m., the aroma of fresh bread began wafting through the quiet residential streets of Greenwich, Connecticut. In the kitchen of Sweet Home Bakery on Greenwich Avenue, 41-year-old Nancy Parker was faithfully baking bread, as she did every day. Under the warm kitchen lights, her expression was serene, and her skilled hands kneading the dough revealed years of experience. Though a recipe notebook peeked out from her apron pocket, she hardly needed it anymore. Her hands held years of expertise. 13 years ago, her chance meeting with Brian, then a young project manager at a construction company, happened at Whole Foods Market. Nancy, working as a baker at the time, was shopping for ingredients after her shift, while Brian was looking for something to eat after working late. What started as casual conversation about bread led to marriage the following year. 2 years later, Sophie was born, and Nancy's life was wrapped in perfect happiness. Even now, 8 years later, she maintains her routine of waking up at 4:30 a.m. to bake fresh bread for her beloved family. Perfect. Today's croissants turned out wonderfully, Nancy said proudly, admiring the fresh batch and picking up one that she had shaped with particular care. This one was for Sophie's lunch. Every day, she made it a habit to bake one special piece of bread for her daughter. Crispy and fragrant on the outside, moist and tender inside, this was why Sweet Home Bakery's signature items were the talk of the town. Sophie had just started 3rd grade at Riverside Elementary School. The bright and honest 8-year-old girl with distinctive long brown hair was beloved by both classmates and teachers. Her homeroom teacher this year, Ms. Roberts, though only in her 2nd year of teaching, had earned deep trust from her students. Her strict but fair teaching style was highly regarded by parents, and her new educational approaches were always a hot topic at PTA meetings. At 6 a.m., as the bakery doors opened, regular customers began streaming in. The morning sun flowing into the store with the first customers gently illuminated the bread displayed in the glass cases. "Good morning, Nancy. Such a lovely aroma again today." "Thank you, Mrs. Wilson. I've put out something new today, bread with brown sugar and walnuts. I think your husband might enjoy it." "Oh, how wonderful. John will love it. Thank you for always remembering what we like." As warm conversations filled the store, Nancy began preparing Sophie's lunch. Today's menu was a sandwich with homemade ham and cheddar cheese. She used fresh lettuce and tomatoes from local farmers, homemade mayonnaise, and naturally, the whole wheat bread she'd baked that morning. For dessert, she added freshly baked chocolate chip cookies. It was truly a special lunchbox crafted by a professional bakery chef. She carefully packed everything into Sophie's favorite pink lunchbox. The sandwich was cut into heart shapes and decorated with cherry tomatoes around the edges. This was like a daily ritual for her. At 7:15 a.m., the fragrance of freshly baked bread filled the Parker family breakfast table. Brian, who worked as a project manager at the construction company, had been coming home late recently due to a major project, but he always made sure to have breakfast with his family. As he sat at the table adjusting his deep blue tie, slight fatigue was visible on his face. "Sophie, today's lunch is ham and cheese sandwiches. I made the same ones as Daddy's." "Yay! I love Mommy's sandwiches." Sophie excitedly opened her lunchbox, her long brown hair swaying. Inside were heart-shaped sandwiches arranged prettily. Her hair had been brushed carefully 100 times that morning as usual, shining a beautiful chestnut color in the morning light. "Mommy's bread is the best in the world. I always brag about it at school." "Oh my, you're making me blush with all these compliments." Nancy smiled, gently stroking her daughter's long hair. These morning moments were irreplaceable instances of happiness for her. It was a perfect family scene she couldn't have imagined 13 years ago when she first met Brian. "I should get going. I have a site meeting today." Brian quickly drank his last sip of coffee, kissed his wife and daughter on the cheek, and left. He'd been really busy lately, coming home late at night. But Nancy was grateful that he still made time to spend mornings with the family. "Sophie, shouldn't we tie your hair back? Don't you have PE class today?" "It's okay. Ms. Roberts said my hairstyle really suits me. I'll tie it up for PE." Mother and daughter finished their final preparations and headed to their respective destinations, Nancy to prepare for the store's opening, and Sophie to begin a new day, both looking forward to what lay ahead. A line of regular customers had already formed outside Sweet Home Bakery on Greenwich Avenue. As people entered one after another seeking fresh bread when the store opened, Nancy watched Sophie's retreating figure through the store window while greeting customers with a smile. Her long brown hair sparkled in the morning sun. "Here's to another good day," Nancy whispered softly as she began arranging bread on the counter. The sound of bread being sliced echoed through the morning bakery like bells announcing the start of a happy day. By late September, several weeks into the new semester, Nancy was arranging freshly baked bread on the shelves at Sweet Home Bakery one afternoon. Outside, the autumn twilight was approaching, and the light streaming into the store was gradually softening. "Mom, I'm home." Sophie returned from school with her usual energetic voice. She came running to the counter, her long brown hair swaying. "Welcome home. How was school today?" "Good. Everyone at school loves your lunchboxes. Especially the sandwiches, they're really popular." Hearing those words, Nancy smiled somewhat bashfully. As a mother, she was happy to hear that the lunchboxes she made with love every day were appreciated by other children. "That's wonderful." At this moment, Nancy didn't notice the subtle wrongness in this casual conversation. But it was the beginning of a quiet change. As October began, the trees lining Greenwich Avenue started changing colors. The morning and evening air grew cooler, and the bakery was preparing to launch seasonal pumpkin bread. Around this time, Nancy began noticing gradual changes in her daughter's behavior. The first concerning sign was Sophie's appetite. At breakfast, where she used to always ask for seconds, she now put down her chopsticks after one serving. She even began politely declining her favorite chocolate chip cookies, saying, "I'm fine for today." "Sophie, haven't you been hungry lately?" "No. I'm fine." Her daughter's responses had become quieter than before. When Sophie stepped on the scale, Nancy couldn't believe her eyes. She had definitely lost weight since last month's health checkup. It was clearly abnormal for a growing child to be losing weight. "Are you enjoying school lately? How are Ms. Roberts' classes?" "Yes, they're fine." Where she once would have chatted enthusiastically about school events, she now tried to avoid the topic with vague answers. Particularly when Miss Roberts was mentioned, she would somehow avert her eyes. Changes began appearing at night as well. One night, when Nancy got up to use the bathroom, she paused at the sound of muffled crying coming from her daughter's room. Her hand, raised to knock on the door, hesitated and lowered. Just as she decided to gently ask about it in the morning, she noticed another change. Sophie would head straight to the refrigerator upon returning home, searching for leftovers, but furtively, as if afraid of being seen. Why couldn't she eat openly when she was hungry? "Brian, haven't you noticed anything different about Sophie lately?" When she consulted her husband, he only replied, "I've been getting home late from work, so I haven't been able to observe much. But Miss Roberts is a trustworthy teacher. If there were any problems, she'd contact us right away." One day in mid-October, Nancy caught her breath when helping Sophie change clothes. Her usually loose-fitting school uniform blouse had become notably baggy. Her daughter's reflection in the mirror showed she had definitely lost weight, and her complexion was poor. "Sophie, if something's worrying you, won't you tell Mommy about it?" Nancy gently placed her hand on her daughter's shoulder. At that moment, she felt Sophie's body tremble slightly. "I'm fine, really fine." Her daughter's voice, on the verge of tears, had a slight tremor. Her long brown hair covered her face, making it impossible to read her expression. Nancy's heart grew heavier each morning as she packed the lunchboxes. Was the sandwich she made with such love really reaching her daughter? Was the heart-shaped bread really popular at school as claimed? The refrigerator accumulated more and more half-eaten dinner leftovers. The muffled crying at night became more frequent. Most concerning was how Sophie had stopped talking about school events. Her once bright smile was gradually fading. It had been Nancy's daily routine to watch Sophie's path to school through Sweet Home Bakery's window. Each time she watched her go, her heart was gripped by growing anxiety. Was it just a mother's needless worry that her daughter's retreating figure, with her long brown hair swaying, seemed somewhat lonely? Something must be wrong. Her hands kneaded the bread dough with extra force. Her daughter was hiding something from her, the mother. It didn't take long to become certain of this. One late October afternoon, Nancy had just finished preparing the afternoon batch at Sweet Home Bakery's kitchen. With the sound of the chime, Sophie returned from school at her usual time. "I'm home." Her voice was small, different from her usual energetic greeting. "Welcome home, Sophie." Her daughter silently placed her lunchbox on the counter and said, "Just going to the bathroom," before heading upstairs. Recently, she had been going upstairs immediately more often. The empty lunchbox on the counter reflected the soft afternoon light. The unease Nancy had felt when opening the lunchbox these past few weeks. The contents unnaturally flattened, the sandwich remains too perfectly eaten. Today, too, it had returned in the same condition. "I should wash it." Nancy picked up the lunchbox and headed to the sink. As she was about to open the lid to check inside, she froze. Something was stuck in the corner of the lunchbox. When she held it to the light, it was a tangled bundle of long brown hair. "No." With trembling hands, she carefully pulled out the bundle of hair. The length, color, and shine, there was no mistake. This was Sophie's hair. The unnatural way it was cut showed clear signs of intentional cutting. In Nancy's mind, all the recent changes flashed by like a slideshow. Her daughter's thinning body, the nighttime crying, avoiding talk about school, and the recent unnatural state of her lunchbox. All the mysteries cruelly connected through this single bundle of hair. Her hands shaking, legs unsteady, Nancy still managed to take out her phone and press the emergency call button without hesitation. The clock showed 3:35 p.m. Police. I found evidence of violent threats against my daughter. She's 8 years old, cut hair in her lunchbox. Her voice trembled. She took a deep breath and continued. Are you able to provide your address? We'll dispatch officers immediately. Please don't move from your location. The calm voice on the receiver provided a slight sense of security. Sweet Home Bakery on Greenwich Avenue. 15 minutes later, at 3:50 p.m., 2 police cars arrived at Sweet Home Bakery without sirens. 2 uniformed officers and a female detective in plain clothes entered the store. Mrs. Parker. I'm Detective Sarah Reynolds from Greenwich Police Department. The detective, in her mid-40s, approached Nancy with a demeanor that combined professional composure with maternal gentleness. Have you preserved the evidence without touching it? Yes. It's on the work counter in the kitchen. The detective began photographing the evidence while other officers started securing the scene and taking initial statements. The lunchbox and bundle of hair were carefully sealed in evidence bags. Where is your daughter? Detective Reynolds asked, looking around. She's in the upstairs bathroom. She's been there since she came home. Nancy's voice trailed off. I understand. We'll go up and talk with her. In cases like this, it would be better to have a professional counselor present. Before Detective Reynolds could finish speaking, footsteps were heard coming down the stairs. The clock showed exactly 4 p.m. Sophie's face was red as if from crying, and part of her long brown hair was noticeably cut shorter. Detective Reynolds gently knelt down, lowering herself to the girl's eye level before speaking. Hello, Sophie. Your mother is very worried about you. Would you mind talking with us for a bit? The daughter looked at her mother for a moment. Her eyes seemed to hold both fear and relief. If you talk to us, we can make sure no one scares you anymore. At Detective Reynolds' words, tears began falling from Sophie's eyes. The interview began in a private room with a female officer and the hastily called counselor. Nancy was asked to wait outside, sitting at the bakery counter, bringing a shaking cup of warm tea to her lips. Outside the window, the autumn twilight deepened. Even the usual bread aroma in the store felt painfully poignant today. While waiting for her daughter to reveal the truth, Nancy's heart was torn between regret and anger. She hadn't noticed. How had she failed to notice the changes in her daughter who was with her every day? Above all, a feeling of self-blame welled up for not realizing this cruel truth until opening today's lunchbox. What would be revealed now? And what punishment would be dealt to those who had hurt her daughter? Until everything was clear, running away was not an option. Nancy felt strongly her responsibility as a mother. From the private room, Sophie's crying could occasionally be heard. Each sob tightened Nancy's chest. The police investigation progressed rapidly from that evening. Sophie's testimony revealed that two top students in the class, Emma Stone and Lily Walker, had been conducting systematic bullying under Ms. Roberts' direction. Ms. Roberts would say, "Share your mother's loving lunchbox with others." Sophie's confession in the interview room squeezed Detective Reynolds' heart. "But when I refused, Emma and Lily said they'd tell Ms. Roberts, and that they'd lower my grades too." Sophie's testimony, delivered in a trembling voice, revealed the gravity of the situation. "When was your hair cut?" "Last Tuesday, during PE changing time." Ms. Roberts said, "Your hair is too long," and told Emma and Lily. Following police intervention, Riverside Elementary School began an emergency internal investigation. All records of Ms. Roberts' past behavior, student interactions, and parent communications were scrutinized. During this process, the school's security manager discovered a shocking fact. Security camera footage revealed that Ms. Roberts had been having frequent secret meetings after school with a specific visitor. That person was none other than Brian Parker. Mrs. Parker, Detective Reynolds carefully chose her words as she faced Nancy. "We've received important information from the school. There's something we need to discuss." Nancy's expression tensed. "There's evidence that your husband and Ms. Roberts have been meeting regularly at the school." The investigation results were conclusive. The two had been meeting secretly in classrooms and conference rooms after school since 2 months before the new semester began. Their relationship started during an evening PTA meeting, and they continued their affairs under the pretense of various school events and meetings. That night, Brian Parker returned home late after being questioned by the police. In the dark house, Nancy waited alone in the living room. On the table lay security camera records and PTA meeting documents provided by the school. "I know everything," Nancy said quietly. "Nancy. Be quiet." The school's report revealed everything. About you and Ms. Roberts. And why that woman targeted Sophie for bullying. Brian Parker stood pale-faced. "You didn't just betray your family. Your relationship hurt our daughter." Nancy's voice was cold and trembling. "I didn't know about Sophie." "You think that's an excuse?" "Our daughter suffered every day. Having her lunch taken away, her hair cut." The truth was cruel. Ms. Roberts had begun her relationship with Brian 2 months before the new semester started. Afterward, she gradually became fixated on Sophie. Her jealousy of the Parkers' perfect family life and her antagonism toward Nancy as a mother drove her actions. Lunchbox is full of love. Is it so fun playing the perfect mother? Ms. Roberts had reportedly said during student interviews. "She's our daughter, Brian. A mere 8-year-old girl, that woman used her relationship with you to torment our daughter. And you never even noticed." At those words, Brian Parker collapsed into a chair. "Forgive me. I can't forgive this. I'll contact a lawyer tomorrow. We're starting divorce proceedings." Nancy's voice was calm. There was no more hesitation. The next day, an emergency board meeting was held at the school. Ms. Roberts was immediately dismissed, and proceedings to revoke her teaching license began. Emma and Lily's parents were called in and informed of the gravity of the situation. The parents were stunned, with Emma's mother particularly breaking down in tears. Further investigation revealed other students had also been victimized. It came to light that Ms. Roberts had previously targeted other students and their families she disliked. Reports emerged of similar issues at her previous school. Mommy. That night, Sophie slept in Nancy's bed. For the first time in a while, she closed her eyes in her mother's arms with a peaceful expression. "I'm sorry. I couldn't tell you." Ms. Roberts said she would talk about Daddy. "No, Sophie. I'm the one who should apologize. I'm sorry I didn't notice. But it's okay now. I won't let anyone hurt you anymore." Nancy held her daughter tightly, feeling the small body trembling slightly. The divorce mediation proceeded swiftly. Brian accepted all of Nancy's demands without contest. She received full custody, and substantial child support was arranged. A week later, it was decided that Sophie would transfer to Parkway Elementary School. Though slightly further from Greenwich Avenue, it had an excellent reputation. The principal, understanding the circumstances, promised to welcome Sophie warmly. "Mom, do you think I'll make friends at the new school?" On her first day of transfer, Sophie looked up at her mother anxiously. Her newly trimmed hair sparkled in the morning sun. "Of course you will. You have such a lovely smile." Nancy gently embraced her daughter's shoulders. "And you'll be taking Mommy's lunch boxes again. Today I made your favorite ham and cheese sandwich." Time passed, and autumn deepened. Sweet Home Bakery still filled with the aroma of bread, and regular customers continued to visit. But the atmosphere in the store had changed slightly. A small workspace was set up in the corner of the counter, where Sophie would do her homework after school. Sometimes her sweet voice would ask, "Mom, I don't understand this problem." She increasingly shared happy stories about her friends at the new school. Her new hairstyle suited her well. Though cut shorter to even out the damaged parts, her still long brown hair had regained its healthy shine. "Hey, Mom," Sophie said one afternoon after finishing her homework. "Will you teach me how to bake bread? Everyone says the bread in my lunch is delicious. I want to try making it too." Those words brought tears to Nancy's eyes. "Of course, sweetheart. I'll teach you everything about making bread. You'll make a wonderful baker someday." The evening light streamed through Sweet Home Bakery's windows. Mother and daughter stood close together, beginning their first bread-making lesson. Nancy felt quiet joy watching those small hands kneading dough. This was their new beginning. The first step in a new life they would build together. Beyond the counter, it felt like a future full of unknown hope was spreading out before them. Outside, the Christmas illuminations on Greenwich Avenue were beginning to sparkle as the season approached. The bread aroma wafting through Sweet Home Bakery seemed a little sweeter and warmer than usual. 1 year later in autumn, Brian had transferred to a small construction company in New Jersey. His reputation damaged in Greenwich, he no longer handled the major projects like before. He would visit Sophie on designated weekends, but conversations with his daughter gradually became awkward. "Dad, you don't need to come to my music recital," Sophie said one day. No one could stop her father's presence from gradually fading in her mind. Ms. Roberts had her teaching license revoked and left Connecticut. Rumors said she was working at her father's company in Ohio. She sent several apology letters to Sophie and her family, but they were all returned unopened. Emma and Lily underwent counseling. They gradually came to understand the severity of their actions. Emma particularly visited Sophie's new school 6 months later to apologize in person. I'm really sorry," Emma said tearfully. Sophie gave a small nod. Though she couldn't forgive yet, she could accept the heartfelt apology. Sweet Home Bakery became even more successful than before. After the incident was reported in the media, the local community showed even stronger support for Nancy and Sophie. The store always echoed with the warm aroma of bread and the laughter of mother and daughter. Sophie turned 10 and made close friends at her new school. Her long hair now shone beautifully again. On weekends, she baked bread with her mother, sometimes creating original sandwiches with her own ideas. And Sweet Home Bakery's showcase featured a new menu item. Sophie's special sandwich, her own creation with ham, cheese, fresh vegetables, and a special sauce. "Hey, Mom," Sophie asked one twilight evening. "We found happiness again, didn't we?" Nancy hugged her daughter and quietly answered, "Yes, we created our own new happiness with our own hands." As the sun set on Greenwich Avenue, Sweet Home Bakery's lights continued to glow warmly.